Welcome to the Kirk Minifan Show wrap-up show. Today is December 11th. Today's show was, oh my God, why can I never remember these shows? It was the Ryan Whitney Experience. And I am joined today by none other than Gig. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Before we get started, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a GoFundMe that is kind of going around the Miniverse right now. One of our own recently lost his job due to pretty much our enemies, the Kirk Minifan world enemies, going after him, taking things out of context, and yeah. So Blind Prison Mike recently just lost his job right before Christmas due to people taking things out of context and everything like that. Obviously, this is terrible news. Blind Prison Mike, I don't know about you, Gig, but he's one of the nicest Minifans I've ever had a conversation with. He reaches out to me when I'm going through shit. Whenever anyone is going through something, he always seems to be the kind of person to step up to the plate. And he was the one who started that walk that raised thousands and thousands of dollars when Kirk went on his leave in August for suicide prevention. He's recently, like this past week, one of the Minifans' neighbors recently just died of a heart attack, and Blind Prison Mike was actually leading the effort in order to make sure their kids have a Christmas and stuff like that. And he's just one of the nicest people. What happened to him is a travesty. It pisses me off. I could go on about this for fucking hours. But in the description here is a link to the GoFundMe. If you could just read that, check that out, retweet it, just share it. It's
that's that's just all like a testimony to the caliber guy that BPM is. Yeah. That he's doing all that shit while he's going through his own shit, and he really is a fucking sweetheart. Like, I know BPM well. I'm happy to call him a friend. He has foster kids. He adopts children. This shit happens right before Christmas. What type of a fucking employer does that? They dump you a couple weeks before Christmas
for something taken out of context, and it's just like I said, I could go on for hours and hours, but I just wanted to get that out of the way and just let everyone know. If you have the chance, the link is in the description. Just check it out, retweet it, share it.
Yeah, $5, $10, anything you can do. He started at like $1,000. I think we're up over $4,000 now. So people are doing great. The Minifans fucking always step up. It's the best fan base in the fucking world. Did the same thing for Mancock, and keep up the good work, folks.
If we can just take one thing off of his mind, so he doesn't have to worry about his kids getting gifts for Christmas or his mortgage next month, that would be honestly incredible. So so that's what I wanted to get going. So on a lighter note, Ryan Whitney was in today for the first time in studio. How'd you like him? I thought he was great. I thought he
fucking salt of the earth guy, huh? I've never listened to Spittin' Chicklets.
Neither have I.
I know Kirk spoke with him on the phone a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was like, wow, this guy's pretty fucking chill. And I've always thought that hockey players out of all professional athletes seem the most down to earth. And he's just a funny bastard, self-deprecating and I always love like a guy that can give it back to Kirk a little bit, give Kirk a little bit of shit. And I think Kirk appreciates that as well. So I thought he's fucking hilarious.
I thought it was great. The first thing he's talking about is how shitty the studio is and how it's underutilized. It's like, oh, this is great. He's ball busting with Kirk. It was awesome. He fit right in.
There was it was funny because they were talking about, maybe you can help me out. Like, he said something earlier, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" They were talking about Kirk when Kirk was out in California and drinking and shit like that, and he was like, he was on a woof. He goes, "Steve, can you imagine this guy on a woof?" I'm like, "There's no fucking way that Steve knows what the term woof means." What the fuck does the term woof mean? Because I know I'm not the only one. I'm assuming it means like on a fucking heater or something.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that's probably like hockey guys have strange kind of like language where they're always like, oh, that was a beauty, and they talk kind of like in their own kind of subsection of English.
Yeah.
So it's it's very good. I will say there was one thing that Whitney said, which I don't see it at all. Kirk says he kind of sees it. So Whitney says he listens to the show and he wanted to get into the Carano versus Carabas debate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he thinks that Carano sounds like Dale Arnold, and Kirk kind of agreed with him. I don't know about you, but I don't see that.
I've never listened to Carano and be like, that sounds like fucking Dale. Never.
Let me just play this real quick, and we'll see what we think.
That's a great question. Both of them, Rene Russo and Dennis Quaid. Okay, first of all, their careers have been pretty good. Dennis Quaid's done some good stuff. He was Jerry Lee Lewis in that film. I thought it was really good. He was in Inner Space, which I really liked. And all
February, you just want to get there, right? And and let's be honest, you got a better route, a more capable route if you're playing at home on the 19th.
Yeah, well, sure.
That's not hard to figure out. And if that meant that San Diego went into Denver and knocked off Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, great.
I don't know. I kind of see it, but I guess you can kind of put anyone side by side and say they kind of have similar mannerisms, I guess. But their voices do not sound similar. I think that was more just Ryan Whitney trying to defend a fellow Barstool employee. And
yeah.
One of the worst things you can say about someone is compare them to Dale Arnold. So
that's it. Yeah, it's busting. That's what I saw the tweet. The show. It's like fucking Whitney buries Carano, and I think that was what they were leaning towards. Right there.
Someone is that they have similar mannerisms to Dale Arnold.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing in the world. But there was a couple segments today in which I wouldn't say Whitney got uncomfortable, but he definitely did not think that he was going to go in this direction. When Kirk started talking about who he voted for and whether or not he's going to take the COVID vaccine, Whitney's like, fuck, I don't. He's kind of in the same world as Kirk, where he's like he'll say what he wants to say, but he also isn't like out there and open about certain things. I think he likes to keep his politics kind of to himself, which is a smart move in the world of hockey, because I know there are plenty of liberals and Republicans play hockey too, and that's a Michael Jordan quote. But
I think his style of like the podcast and the radio and stuff like that, they're more inclined to like fucking keep it light. But that was like funny when Kirk's like, hey, let's lighten up with that a little bit. Wait, what do you think about race relations? It's like you're gonna be able to figure that out. So I mean, I thought that was funny, and Whitney got a fucking kick out of that. There were a couple there were a couple good little zingers in there throughout the fucking show. Like right at the beginning, they were talking about the streamies that are going to be coming out, like the YouTube awards or whatever. Yep. And this guy, and he goes, do you think this is what our parents were thinking when we were talking about Who's the Boss? Which I don't know if you're old enough to like.
I have
remember.
no idea what Who's the Boss is.
Okay, Who's the Boss is fucking Tony Danza. Like, you gotta go back. He's like a fucking man-made or something like this for a rich lady, and it's actually like Alyssa Milano's like first big fucking show that she was on before she went to insane.
That's my right there.
Yeah, I know, she's pretty hot, but she's fucking crazy. That's that shit had me laughing, dude, because that's my demographic. I'm 40, almost 44, so I thought that was fucking hilarious. I had no idea Kirk was such a big fucking Who's the Boss fan in 1985.
And I think Whitney played along pretty well. I mean, he could have, said like not talking politics, just been a complete drip and been like some of the other guests, not necessarily that have been on Kirk Minahan show, but other guests you've seen where they're just like, nope, not talking about that. And if you continue talking about that, I'll leave. He played along. I mean, got him to open up, said he voted for Trump in 2016, said he didn't vote this year. It's cool to see, Kirk get these Barstool personalities to open up and talk about things that they're not normally talking about. I mean, nowhere in 1,000 years would Ryan Whitney's political takes, somehow come up on Spit and Chicklets, other than I know he said he just, he got into like the Vancouver Canucks or something like that.
Oilers.
The Oilers or something, said he wasn't allowed, one of their players wasn't allowed to go on or something stupid like that.
Oh, yeah. I understand. Yeah. And they fucking got in trouble or something, or the rookie got in trouble.
Which is actually happening in relation to the Barstool world, not the Kirk Minahan world. But right now, it's cancel Dave Portnoy time again. I don't know if you've seen what's going on, but Dave pretty much put out a video that said,
"Go back to work.
Can't stop people from earning their living." And you see a bunch of blue check marks on Twitter saying, "I can't believe people still follow this guy, how he has a following, blah, blah, blah. Dave Portnoy isn't a regular person." And it's just get ready for that next wave. Every couple months, there seems to be a big cancel Dave Portnoy movement. And like Dave said, he's uncancelable. So
it seems like everything's kind of fucking chilled out after the election here a little bit. But I think when we're going to hit the new year, it's just everyone's going to get fucking riled up again. It's going to be chaos.
Yeah. Remember when this whole COVID thing started happening and everyone was like, maybe this will kind of bring everyone together and, we won't try to cancel anyone. It will make us understand like the meaning of life. And then it's like 2 months later, they were just screaming at each other. People are screaming at each other.
We'll come together as we distance ourselves.
Yeah. So get ready for that. I'm sure that's going to be a big topic on the Kirk Minahan show next week. But any other thoughts on Ryan Whitney? I thought he was great. I enjoyed his.
I thought he was fucking hilarious doing during the cons segment.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to get to that next. Yeah,
we're going to segue right into that. I don't know what the fuck Cons was thinking anyway, but and Whitney in the middle, like he was just egging everything on too. And he's like, he said he made like a correlation between Cons. It's like you play for the Oilers and you never want to play for the Oilers. And Kirk, you're like the Blackhawks. It's like
he's great.
Making all these fucking correlations.
He's like, Kirk, Cons just scored a goal on you. It's 8-1, but he still scored a goal. I like that a lot. I thought it was very entertaining. I'm not a big Bruce fan, so I'm not entirely sure. Like I can't name pretty much anything that has to do with Bruce Springsteen, but you have to know that if you're going to step into the ring with Kirk Minahan, especially when it comes to the boss, you need to know your shit. You can't stutter for a second. You have to be on your fucking game if you're going to call him out like that.
And the thing is, too, it's like anyone that's a fan of Kirk knows that. Especially with, if you know anything about the way he brings up sports statistics, then he's obviously going to fucking be like, oh, well, this album starts with this song and ends with this song and be squared away with that shit. So, yeah, I wish I was half as passionate about anything in my life that Kirk is when it comes to fucking Springsteen.
Yeah, so I could see, I don't know if Smitty's going to want to step into the ring with Kirk when it comes to Bruce knowledge. We'll see what that's like next week. I know Cons originally called out Smitty, but yeah, that was an entertaining segment. I thought it was hilarious to see Kirk just be like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You don't know?" Like just to see the amount of passion he has for
sure.
Bruce Springsteen was just incredible.
I admire it. As a result of that, I'm actually going to go listen to the Darkness on the Edge of Town album. It's not my shit. I'm a fucking metalhead like through and through. I listen. I don't know how Kirk Minahan's 2 years older than me, and our musical taste could be any fucking further apart. But I am gonna go listen to that album just for shits and giggles. And I also think it's a fucking riot that Elvis Costello has the balls to say that someone's fucking album sounds weird. It's like, who the fuck are you, Elvis Costello? Now you probably don't know who that is either, Justin. Nope. But he's another fucking musician that doesn't have any fucking place to talk about sound. Tell you that. And Carano might fucking dislike that take, but I don't fucking give a fuck.
Well, yeah, I liked the con segment. That entire thing is actually going to go up today on the Kirk Minahan Clips YouTube account at 7. It drops. So if anyone wants to check out that full, I think it's like 15 minutes of just Kirk just destroying this guy. I think his name's Connor. Now I haven't heard of him before. But it was also great when he's like, "This is the worst thing anyone on Zero Block 30 has ever done," and someone literally tried to get me to lose their job there, and it was great. It was great.
The other thing I like, they're like, "This is how we do it on the Whitney and Minahan show," and he's like, "Oh, you put your name first." He's like, "That's okay. I'm egoless." Yeah. I thought that was fucking funny.
Was great, and we also got another surprise guest today that no one was really expecting. The return of one David Cullinane.
I love it.
Former intern producer. I believe it was in July of 2019. He spent the entire month replacing Steve while Steve was on vacation in Europe. And huge Ryan Whitney fan. Kirk called him up. He played along. it was good. You know, they talked a little bit about Cullinane's morning show that he does. They talked a little bit about Ryan Whitney and you know, just what they talked about. It's nice to hear Cullinane back. He's a funny guy. He never really left the world. He was always, like Kirk would say, a casualty of war. But it's good to see him back on the show in the sense of, even though he like didn't come in, it's just good to see him talk freely about it. And I also think this spoke a lot to Kirk's current relationship with Jerry. And I think Cullinane knows that it's on the mend right now. You know, it's getting better, and he'd be able to, you know, jump on.
That's amazing. On the mend with fucking Dino as well. You know, the relationship with Dino is good too. I love Cully. Cully's such a sweetheart, and when anyone can just drop someone calling your kids ugly and just move on past it, I was like, man, that's awesome. Good for you, man.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Dino stuff. I know at the end at WEI it got kind of rough there, but they sound like they're you know, have a decent relationship together.
They hated each other at the end of it, like fucking. That's some interesting radio if you ever go back and listen to it.
I have listened to the back catalogs where it was like, Dino's not coming in today because he's scared of Kirk Seamus Minahan and
yeah,
like that.
I am the show.
Yeah,
I am the show.
So I mean, but I never listened to Dino and Callahan or Kirk and Callahan, so I can't attest to that. But it is nice to hear that, you know, at least Cullinane and Kirk both think that the relationship with Jerry is on the mend enough that, you know, Cullinane can come on the show and it's not going to cause a controversy or put Cullinane in a tough position. So that was really nice to see. One thing from this week though that someone pointed out to me, and you don't really notice it until you think about it. Not many phone calls this week. I mean, like Minifan phone calls coming in.
Sure.
I know a big complaint these past couple months has been, too reliant on phone calls. I love the phone calls. I think it's great, but not many. I'm not entirely sure. Did they take phone calls at all this week? Maybe did they take a couple when Mike was back? When
was Steve and Tim on?
Steve and Tim were on Thursday.
Friday?
Last Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. Okay, yeah. So because I was trying to remember.
But that Kevin from Bristol phone call wasn't really a phone call because he was told to call in. I'm talking about when people call in and you know, Donald Trump calls in or Fat Blind Mike calls in or someone. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think it's a different pathway.
I wonder if it really just hinges on how well the show's going. Like I was thinking about that earlier, and I think, like, you know, it's almost like when Costanza like says a joke and like everyone laughs, she's like, I'm out of here, fucking, and then he just rolls out. Like, I think if the show's like really, really good, then you might as well just end it on a high note, as opposed to like go to the callers and then see what happens, and then it kind of fucking fizzles out. Like, just end the show if the show's been great and just fucking move on from it. So I think the caliber of shows have been great, like whether it be like the Carabas Carano or, you know, even going back to like Quantum Week Chris and Steve and Tim and, you know, Whitney, and some of the shows have been really, really good lately. So I don't think there's as much of a need. And plus it's like all those guys, they gotta, you know, you got to refill your tank, you know. It's tough for those callers to get, like, you got to get some, you know, the creative juices flowing. It's like hard to do it consistently and all the time. I'm sure it is. So,
yeah, I think that it's more so like we've had so many. The Kirk Minahan show has had so many guests in these past couple of weeks, whether it be, you know, the week and a half of Carano, who you can consider a guest who's not on as a regular. Mike came back after 3 months. They had Tim, they had Steven, they had Carabas in, they had Whitney in. It's just that I think Kirk was given so much to play with that he didn't necessarily need the calls, because he always says that the calls don't. He makes the calls. You know, sometimes someone will call about something, and then he'll turn it into you know, like an entire segment based on, you know, Tig or something like that. But he really hasn't had that need to. I mean, he has Whitney, of whom is a blank slate. We really don't know I don't know anything about him. I'm sure I'm sure Kirk knows a little bit more about. I mean, like he said, he used to write hockey cards for him, but
yeah, that was funny too. But that was a -4, and fucking that shit was funny.
But I really think that it's more just that he had so much to play with these past couple of weeks. He had so much to dive into. He had, Steve came back after 2 weeks, so they talked about the secret project, and I guess they took some calls the secret project day, but those were just kind of like people just guessing on things, and no one really knows what it's like. But it's
I thought it was funny when they were talking about like Steve's grandpa, and you know what the funny thing about like Whitney was like he really sounded genuine. He's like, oh man,
no, it sounds like
I'm sorry about that. Like he's a fucking good guy, and he says I have sympathy for anyone that loses a loved one, and Kirk goes anyway.
Today when he's talking about his mom and he goes, oh yeah, my mom passed. What did he say? His mom passed away 2 weeks ago. Ryan Whitney's like, oh Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry, man. He's like, nah, it was 3 years.
Talk about the other fucking visual was like a couple weeks after Kirk's mother passed, and he goes golfing, and he just one by one fucking heaves his clubs into the fucking swamp. I can just see him be like 3-iron. Pitching wedge. It's just like one by one yard sailing all of his fucking clubs. I was like, wow, that's a visual right there.
Yeah, but it's I like Ryan Whitney. I could definitely see him coming in. Like you said, he'd love to come in again, which I'm sure Kirk will be loving to have him come in, especially when they go to 3 days a week starting in January of 2021. I think it's going to be a good time.
I'm going to go listen to Spittin' Chicklets, honestly. I'm going to go check it out because it's just a fucking likable guy, and I found him funny. So, I mean, I don't listen, like, this is the only podcast I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm, like...
Are you talking about the wrap-up, or are you talking about the Kirk Minihane show?
I'm talking about the Kirk Minihane show.
Sorry. Oh, because I know we have a couple fans of the wrap-up who aren't so hot on the Kirk Minihane show. But,
yeah, so, kind of like Blind Mike does with his podcast. So I heard. Steve, by the way, let's talk about something that happened yesterday. Did you notice the quality of the paper of that photo that Madawaska Rob
ripped up?
Was that not? That was fucking Kinko's.
I was going to say, I'm sure Steve did not sleep well last night. I know I wouldn't have if.
I'm thinking that there was probably like an empty spot on Mad Rob's dresser or something, because that picture came straight out of a fucking frame, mister. I mean, that was quality paper. That wasn't made on any HP printer or any bullshit. So I think there's something else going on. I think Mad Rob's like heartbroken, really.
Yeah, I think, like I said on the show yesterday, I think he overreacted a little bit to a very quick under-the-table comment where he just said, one-of-a-kind broadcaster or something like that. And Madawaska, something switching his head and said, fuck Steve.
He's like, cunty Steve.
Yeah, cunty Steve. Condescending cunt of a Steve.
Can we say cunt? It's like, yes.
Oh, it's incredible. But yeah,
Rob's passion, that was great.
I think that's really all it for today. I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover, Gig, from today's show.
No, that's pretty much it. Like I thought, like you said, I thought Cully coming back was great because I love Cully. I like it when everyone gets along. Like I know, like a lot of this world hinges on fucking drama and all this other shit, but there's definitely a lot of people in this world that are they like to see, the feel good stories. Like, like everyone.
No, I would say the majority of the people are great people. You talk to these people and very similar minded in the sense of that they don't like being lied to. They just want to be, treated right. And it's just not to bring it back to the Blind Prison Mike thing, but it's just a shame what's happening. So I just wanted to end this Kirk Minihane wrap-up show. Once again, asking you guys if you guys could just check out the fundraiser. It's in the description. It's going to be in the podcast description as well. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Gig, for coming on. It's a pleasure as always. I'd love to have you on in the future.
Thanks, buddy. And I just want to say, you cleaning the toilet too, Justin? fucking
the
hilarious.
Phantom toilet. I got it.
I
The
loved
Phantom
it.
toilet was stolen from Kevin from Bristol. I saw him tweet that out. But
I
the
can
worst
listen
part
to you
about
clean
that,
the toilet all by yourself and talk to yourself all the time.
the worst part about that is 80% of that was just to myself. It was at one point I was like, fuck, like I was reenacting the scene from Jedi where he's throwing him down, and I was Darth Vader and I was throwing Emperor Palpatine down the toilet and all this other things. And then I was like, canon, in the canon he technically like shoots his body like a million miles away now, but
do over. I gotta do this again.
But I'm like, that's fucking stupid. He's dead here. And so anyway, like I said, please check out the fundraiser. Thank you so much to Kirk Minahan, and I will talk to you tomorrow night on Justin and the Minifans.